All right, we are live. Let's see who else is alive out there tonight. Happy Michael Myers Monday, everybody. Looks like we already got a few people watching, got a few comments already from Eva, Phil, and Victoria. Happy Michael Myers Monday, everybody. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. And if you're a return viewer, welcome back. My name is Matt Arts. I'm the editor in chief of Halloween Daily News, and this is our weekly live chat here on the HDN YouTube channel where we recap the week in Michael Myers news and updates and just talk with the fans here about our favorite Halloween franchise. And we'll just see where the conversation goes. Probably not going to be talking too long this week. Last week was kind of a marathon, but we had a lot to talk about. There is quite a few things that I'm going to talk about, one of which is tomorrow's 25th anniversary of Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in just a little bit. There's Mitchell. I knew you'd be along. Mitchell's been here every week with me. Thanks for joining, man. Cheers to you. Happy Michael Myers Monday. Cheers, everybody. So, yeah, I think we're just going to follow with the format that we've been doing the last few weeks. And because I know that these guys aren't going to be in stock for very much longer, I'm not going to have them here to show off literally very much longer. So, I'm going to show you a couple masks. I've shown you both of these 2018s separately before. So, tonight I'm going to show you both versions of the 2018 by Trick or Treat Studios because we do have both of these in stock right now. It is the season and they're going quick as we speak. So I'm just going to get going and we can see, like I said, this is just right out of the bag, right out of the box. This is the Halloween 2018 Michael Myers by Trick or Treat Studios. The hair not styled or anything. This is not really even set up for display how we would do it at like a convention. This is just straight out of the box to show you guys exactly what you get. And of course, this mask designed by the great Christopher Nelson, and he is, this is based on the actual screen mold that he created for the film. Okay, so this, I'm going to set him there. There's the 2018. I know you can't see him quite yet. This is the alternate 2018. And you'll see it's got the bullet wound. They call it the Bloody Edition or the Final Battle. Okay. The lighting is far from ideal in here, but we make do. All right, so here you go. Here they both are. The 2018 and the 2018 Bloody Edition. You can see the paint job. Everyone is a little bit different with the paint job. If you're a mask collector, you realize this, that every one of Trick or Treat's masks is hand painted, so they're all done just a little bit differently. And when it comes to these 2018s, yeah, but the mold is exactly the same on both. This one just has the bullet wound from the final battle of the film. All right, let's see. Esco Bro 76 says loving the regular mask. Awesome. Thank you. Well, if you're looking for one, like I said, we've got just a few of these in stock at our online store right now. We got a few of both of these, not very many, and it's the first time we've had this regular 2018 in probably about a year. Phil says beautiful mask. Thank you. Yeah, I love these masks. And like I said, this camera, this phone camera, this lighting in here is not doing them justice. And as you guys know, once you get your mask, you're gonna style the hair, make it right, for your photos. You're gonna do the lighting, have it dark, and and play with the lighting. But yeah, you can go anywhere with these masks. And a lot of people, of course, get them and then they do the rehauls and they sell them. Or a lot of people purchase the rehauls and collect those as well. But everybody agrees that this base mold here by Christopher Nelson is pretty amazing. So like I said, we don't have a ton of them in stock, but we do have a few right now. So that's why I'm showing you. And we do have both versions at the moment. It's been a long time since we've had both versions available, and they're available to ship upon order right now. So, and then one other thing from the store I was going to show you tonight, just because we're going to be talking all about Curse. And it's the one Myers Fear Freshener that we have that I haven't brought down here for a Michael Myers Monday yet. So this is, of course, the Halloween, the Curse of Michael Myers Fear Freshener. Again, by Trick or Treat Studios. And again, we don't have a lot. We wanted a lot more 78s. They ran out, and so we got a few from the sequels, from Part 4, Part 5, and Part 6. The Jamie Lloyd Thorne trilogy, if that's what you call it. And as you can see, it's got the H6 mask. And this one, some of the Myers this year have been cinnamon scented. This one is vanilla scented. Very, very nice, sweet vanilla scent. I still don't know why they didn't do pumpkin spice for Michael, but that's... Anyway, we don't have a ton, but we do have a few of these. We've also got a few of the H4s and H5s in stock. Those are only $4 each, and the masks, they are selling for $60 plus shipping and handling. So how's everybody doing? BTK Killer says nice. Awesome, thank you. Awesome. Sonic Joker 621. You have the 78 mask. Yep, I had the 78 on here last week. We were talking about that and the 78 Boogeyman. We've got a few of those in stock right now. Awesome. Great to see everybody here. Thank you guys for watching. As always, thanks for joining in. Cheers again. So I'm going to talk about H6, but of course there is just a couple tiny little news things that happened since last Monday. And you guys are probably well aware of all this, but Jamie Lee Curtis, in a few days ago, she posted on Instagram a behind-the-scenes video of her and her bucket of blood from the set of Halloween Kills. If you didn't see it, it was her response to the CDC had released their guidelines about trick-or-treating and saying that trick-or-treating in its traditional form is not really safe this year. So Jamie Lee Curtis posted this behind the scenes video, and that was the catalyst for it. And she says that she's going to host a virtual costume parade on her Instagram page all day on Halloween Day, October 31st. So that should be interesting to see. But the video, it's just really short. Apparently it was filmed by Andy Matichak on the set, and it's just Jamie covered in blood with a giant bucket, red bucket. She's dousing herself with the blood, and she's just joking around saying, don't take my bucket, don't take my bucket. And so clearly this is a thing. This is just more evidence, as if we need it, but more evidence that this is going to be a very bloody movie, that the kills are going to be intense. I think it's going to live up to its name in many ways. Awesome. I see we got some new viewers in here. Welcome, everybody. XX Diablo, welcome. Happy Michael Myers Monday. Sonic Joker is going to be Myers for Halloween. Never a bad choice to be Myers. But which Myers? 78, I guess? Good to see all you guys. The H6 reminds you of the first Halloween. Yeah, yeah, it's one of the closer ones. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. So anyway, the bucket of blood, and also I was just going to say that video evidently is um, kind of how Jamie Lee is and was on the set of these movies. Because Christopher Nelson, I know I always talk about him, and I always talk about him and Sean Clark's show, The Thing with Two Heads. I'm going to plug them again, but they actually did an interview this past week on another YouTube channel. I know some of you guys watched the We Watched a Movie guys. Well, they had Sean and Christopher on the other night, and of course, you know, I'm a fan, so I watched it, and it was very entertaining. And having interviewed both of them myself, you know, it was great to you know, get a few new tidbits in there. Some of it was some stuff I remember talking to him about, and so, but Christopher talked just a tiny bit about that very bucket of blood. He did say that basically Jamie Lee will not let him or anybody apply blood or anything like that on set. That video is apparently exactly how she is on set. She does it herself, and he talked about that bucket of blood. I guess he had probably seen her post, I imagine, but yeah, that's no accident that that came out, and I guess that's why Andy was taping it in the first place, is because that was just a running thing on the set, that Jamie and her bucket of blood. Um, if you remember, Judy Greer posted a photo way back when they were filming of her hands super bloody. It looked like her own bucket of blood there. So, as if we need more evidence that HK is going to be bloody, there we go. And as far as the virtual costume parade, yeah, it sounds like a great idea. I know we're going to be doing something similar to that here on a local level for our local community, but I think we need to do something similar here for HDN and do some kind of virtual costume parade. You guys let me know what you think. All right. How's everybody doing tonight? I see Sonic Joker, like the Rob Zombie Michael mask. Yep, that was a good one. I like that mask for sure. Don't have that one in stock, but not as good as the original. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I liked the Rob Zombie mask. Yeah, a few weeks ago, I talked for about an hour just all about the zombie movies, and that's definitely one that I like. Um, the one other little news thing this week, Jamie Lee again. She popped up. She said this before in a previous interview. Basically, her feeling that 5 years old is too young to watch the original Halloween, which I would probably agree with. Um, my son's 13 now, and I forget exactly how old he was the first time we let him watch it. It was probably 9 or 10, I imagine, maybe 8. But yeah, I would say 5 is probably a tiny bit too young. But she was quoted in a recent interview at the Washington Post, um, again, just saying that she's a little astonished when fans bring their 5-year-olds and say that they love Halloween. But I think probably a lot of people say that their kids have seen it when they've seen maybe a few scenes or maybe, you know, pictures of Michael Myers, their parents' collectibles of Michael Myers. I know my son knew full well who Michael Myers was and kind of what he was long before he ever saw the movies, just because growing up in the house he grew up in with us. So, um, but you know, it's something interesting to talk about and to consider. What age is something like Halloween '78 appropriate? Again, I would say probably in today's day and age, you know, 8 or 9, 10, maybe, depending on the kid, right? It all depends on the kid at the end of the day. Again, our kid was a little unique when it comes to horror movies because he kind of grew up around it, and we warmed him up with, you know, the old classics, the Universal black and whites, and gave him a whole history of horror, so that he was well prepared by the time we got to '78. Some kids might not be mature enough. And a lot of kids today are going to think it's just kind of slow and boring because they're just not ready to sit there and wrap their brains around what this movie actually is. So there's that to be considered too. That a lot of 5-year-olds aren't going to sit there and comprehend it. Um, so but that made the news this week, and that came up. Sonic Joker says, like the mask that you have next to you, are you going to get that rehauled? No, this one is actually for sale. This one right here. This is available for order right now. We've got a couple of them we're selling at, by the way, the address is halloweendailynews.com/shop. And you can find this mask right now. We don't have a ton of them left. They're going to go quick. We just sold another one the other day. So that's one reason I wanted to bring it down here. But no, I'm not going to get this particular one rehauled. Like I said, and I've got one, just a regular one. I don't have a rehauled one at the moment in my personal collection. So how's everybody doing tonight? Happy Michael Myers Monday. You know, it's a great time to be a Myers fan because while the new movie got delayed, there is so much merch happening right now. I mean, literally, like more merch, Myers related, Halloween franchise related, officially licensed now. This isn't even looking aside from, you know, the indie artists and stuff, the officially licensed stuff. Just looking at that, there's so much available out there right now, but between figures and lots of t-shirts. And so there was more merch announced within the last week, more merch. And so whether, you know, you're a collectible or a figure guy or just need some new t-shirts, we got you covered because there is tons of new stuff. Just the other week, Fright Rags did their H4, H5 collections. Well, Gutter Garbs this week released their H4 and H5 t-shirt collections, featuring all different sets of these shirts from these films. The H4 set from Gutter Garbs, which was actually released, I think a week ago, last Monday, or the day after Monday, possibly. It's 3 t-shirts. One is the H4 poster, which, you know, has the badass mask that's not in the movie, and but that poster is iconic and awesome. Then there's the artistic impression poster where it's got Michael, it's got flames, Jamie's in there, Loomis firing the pistol. It's awesome. Okay. Then you've got the restock, which is the H4, and it's got the Jamie Lloyd clown mask and the scissors dripping in blood. So they're available right now. And then even more recently, they just announced last few days the H5 collection with 3 other shirts. And one is the H5 poster. Again, the awesome mask, not the one from the film, but the poster mask. And this time with Jamie Lloyd inserted in there in her H4 costume, which again, not her H5 costume, but that's another matter. And then there's an awesome red and white one with the Don Shanks as Michael holding the giant the Reaper's sip from the barn. And then there's the H5. It's kind of a vintage design. It's got Michael from the poster again and Jamie from the poster, only they add the Loomis to the side of it. And I like that they have the car, Mike's car, in there. If you remember, Mike's car is where Michael he drives the car for a little while. He wears the what they call the brute mask for a little while he's driving Mike's car. It's absolutely one of my favorite scenes in that film. So I love that they have Mike's car. That'd probably be my pick of the H5 ones from and that's from Gutter Garbs. And wrapping up the merch reviews this week, the merch rundown, because there's just so much. Fright Rags again, you know, they are just killing it with the Halloween merch this year. They announced on the first day of fall, last Tuesday, that in just a few weeks they're going to release a vintage lunchbox, officially licensed Halloween 78 lunchbox, and it'll come with a thermos, of course, just like the old school lunchboxes that those of you my age and older remember, literally taking the elementary school and using, and you know, maybe it was Incredible Hulk or whatever, but this is the Halloween one. It's coming from Fright Rags. It's going to be released on October 14th, and that was just announced this past week too. And let's see. Then the last kind of news item. Again, nothing real surprising here, but AMC announced their Fear Fest lineup, their annual Halloween programming event. This year, it's bigger than ever. It starts on October 1st and runs the entire month through Halloween. And they always show a bunch of Halloween movies. They usually kick off Fear Fest on a Monday traditionally, and of course it's Michael Myers Monday every Monday, so that always is fun. This year, again, it's starting October 1st, which is this Thursday, and the films they're going to be running from the franchise, they're going to be running 91 horror films total, and most of them are going to be streaming online as well as airing on the network. But the franchise films they're going to be showing are Halloween 78, Halloween 4, Halloween 5. Actually, Halloween 4 and 5 are only available on AMC Premiere for AMC Premiere subscribers, apparently. But on the network and streaming for everybody will be Halloween 78, Halloween The Curse of Michael Myers, the one we're about to talk about, Halloween H2O, 20 years later, and Halloween Resurrection. So AMC bringing it with the Myers love like they always do. And you can get the full lineup for Fear Fest and all that good stuff right now at HalloweenDailyNews.com. Excuse me, HalloweenDailyNews.com if you want to check out any of that. Let's see. Sonic says, big Halloween fan. Well, you're in the right place, man. Absolutely. Do I like the H5 mask? It's not my favorite. I'll tell you. I mean, it's not my favorite of the Myers masks. We did have a few of the H5 by Trick or Treat Studios last year. Again, we sold them fairly quick. I wish I had one now because the hair was kind of the weirdest thing. It was kind of cool, actually. It was like real hair. But it was floppy. Like you could headbang with it. It was crazy, but you could really style it however you wanted. It was definitely not what I expected the hair to be like. That was the most striking thing, and it was a dead ringer for the mask. It was, a perfect replica of the one from the film. I wish I had one here to show you. Again, they went really fast last year. Yes, I like the H6 mask. Yep. And Sonic says he doesn't like the H2O. You see his eyes in that mask. Yeah. Yeah, I think sometimes when you see Michael's eyes, it definitely goes away from the blackest eyes, that whole idea. But every now and then we do see his eyes. In H5, you see his eye at one point at a few of the movies. But yeah, I know what you mean with the H2O. I would agree that, yeah, they're the best version because there was many H2O masks. And the one you're talking about, I think it was the best of them, but that was its biggest downfall, was you see the eyes. I know exactly what you mean. Martin says Michael Myers #1. Absolutely, man. Welcome. It looks like we're getting quite a few more viewers tonight. I love it. I can tell that the season is here. This is our first Monday of fall, and this is our last Monday of September. So it is our season, and then we got 4 Mondays in October. Looking down the road, October 19th falls on a Monday this year. It'll be the 2-year anniversary of the theatrical release of Halloween 2018. So I'm definitely thinking that we're going to have to dedicate that night to Halloween 2018 and talking all about that. So start marking your calendars for that one. That's going to be a lot of fun. I do love that film. Happy Michael Myers Monday, everybody. And thanks for the sub. Sonic Joker. I appreciate it. Yes. I might forget to say it later, so I'll say it now. please subscribe to the channel and like the video. Feel free to leave us comments. Don't be shy to comment in the chat either. That's what I'm doing this for, is to connect with you guys and to hear from you guys and to converse and to talk about our favorite horror franchise, right? That's why I'm here doing this, and want to connect in a way that we haven't really here on YouTube until doing these lives. So this has been fun. I'd like to see your Michael Myers mask sometimes. Yeah. I can show once, I can show you some from my personal collection. But again, I don't have a huge collection. I've got a couple Trick or Treat masks. I've got a 2018. I do have a Bloody Edition as well. I've got a 78, a Boogeyman. I've got their first H2 that they released way back in, I think it was 2012, if I remember right. And that was the first one I got from them. As I know, it was the first one a lot of you got from them. You have the H4 bandaged mask. No, now that, yes, yeah, that could be a whole week's worth of talking. A whole episode, I guess, is what I'm saying, is the other masks of Michael besides the traditional one, because I personally love it whenever Michael's wearing something other than his traditional mask. I love the traditional one, but they've looked so varying in so many of the sequels. But I love the bloody bandaged mask. I love that version of Michael, and that's Tom Morga. Before Wilbur got involved, and Tom Morga, yeah, he's badass in those scenes. I love it. By the way, you can read our interview with Tom Morga at HalloweenDailyNews.com too. Just search his name, and posted a few of my Myers masks. Okay, I'll check that out. Sonic. Yep. So, Curse. Let's talk about Curse. I think I've covered the week's news. If I missed anything, you guys tell me what I missed. You can see drinking out of the fitting Myers mug again this week. I figured that's much more fitting than the Happy Halloween cups, because it is Monday after all. Michael Myers Monday. That came from Spirit Halloween, by the way. Got that last year, I think 2 years ago. That's when that one. It's actually supposed to be from Resurrection. It'd be more fitting if it was officially an H6 one. I thought about bringing that statue back down that I had, that because that's from H6, and maybe just have that in the background. But Byron Weaver says, "Do you have the Halloween 2018 mask?" Yes. This particular one that you're looking at here is not my personal one. This one's for sale, but yes, I have my own copy of this Trick or Treat Studios H2018 mask, and I do have my own copy of the Bloody Edition that came out, one of the very first ones that came out. And the 2018, I wear it all the time. I love it. My own personal copy. That's kind of my go-to since for the last 2 years anyway. If I'm gonna, I say I wear it all the time when I mask up as Michael, which is on rare occasion, but that's kind of my go-to now. But I do have the Bloody Edition. I do have a 78, like I said, a 78 Boogeyman as well. And at the moment, we still have all of those I just mentioned, all 4 of those in stock in our online shop, HalloweenDailyNews.com/shop. Byron says, "Might get that H18 mask rehauled." Yeah. I mean, that's what a ton of people do. I've seen some that look amazing. I mean, and there are some amazingly talented artists out there that can rehaul your mask and make it look 100% screen accurate. You just got to pick which scene, because every scene it looks, just like in the original. Every scene looks a tiny bit different, whether it's how it's lit or just what state it is in story-wise at that point. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Curse. Tomorrow is the 25th anniversary of The Curse of Michael Myers, right? It was released in 1995, and it's sequel. Well, it's film number 6, the 5th sequel technically, and yeah. So I've had the pleasure of interviewing a number of people involved in the film, and this being one of my favorite films. I mean, it's obviously a polarizing film. It's obviously one in the franchise that not everybody loves. A lot of people either love it or hate it. Kind of like the Rob Zombie films, kind of like Halloween 3. Um, I tend to fall more in the loving category. As I've said, I love all the films, but you know, this is I enjoy a lot about this, and I'm just going to talk about the things that I like about it, and I'm going to tell you a few of the things that I learned from interviewing some of the people, and you can find links to these interviews in the description below this video. And one of the most interesting interviews I did was with Daniel Farrens. This was 6 years ago, way back in 2014. Actually, the date of our interview, to be exact, was on September 29th of 2014, which was the 19th, or yeah, the 19th anniversary of the film. And now 6 years later, it's the 25th anniversary. So Daniel Farrens is the writer of the film. And if you don't know his story, I urge you to check out the interview because he's got an amazing story, and we talked for a long time, and he's a really nice guy, really gracious guy, and I've already put the link down in the description. You can find it after I'm done here, but I'll give you just a few highlights as it pertains to Halloween 6 and deepening my own appreciation of the film. First of all, Daniel was a fan who wrote a treatment, and long story short, it got made. He got in the door with Mustafa Akkad, and the film got made. It had been years since they made H5, and he had a whole pitch, a whole idea, and he got through, and he got it made. So that alone is worth checking out to get his full story. But some of the things in the film that I like, and some of the things that I think people pick apart, he kind of enlightened me to a few of those things. One is the Jamie Lloyd character. Now, we all know about the casting and what went down there. They didn't want to pay Danielle Harris what she felt she deserved at that point. And so that's where that broke down there. And that led to J.C. Brandy playing Jamie Lloyd in the film. Well, Daniel tells me in our interview from 2014 that the producers, they did not want to do a Jamie Lloyd film. His idea for Jamie Lloyd was always to have her reemerge in the third act and have one final heroic last stand against Michael Myers. Now, if you've watched Curse, if you haven't, spoiler alert, go away now and watch the theatrical and the producer's cut. Okay, now, if you're watching this, you've seen The Curse of Michael Myers theatrical and producer's cut. Okay, because it's 25 years old. Okay, I highly recommend watching them both because they're vastly different. And again, just like everybody's got an opinion whether they like it or not, everybody's got an opinion whether they like the theatrical more than the producer's cut. There's pros and cons to both. And as Daniel admitted to me, because they were just about to release the producer's cut officially for the first time when I interviewed him, he said that neither is perfect, but and the best movie lies unmade somewhere in between the two. So what Daniel had in mind with Jamie Lloyd was much more of a heroic last stand. In the theatrical cut, of course, there's how she is killed. It's the gory, the tractor, the tiller, she's mangled. In the producer's cut, it's just a much more swift man in black, gun to the head, kind of anticlimactic there. At least the theatrical delivers in the gore department is definitely memorable. But, it left a lot of us just scratching our heads, like, what just happened to our hero character from the last two movies? But the way Daniel originally envisioned it was she would rise up and have a last stand and go out fighting. She would die, but she would die sacrificing herself. so that her child and these other characters, including Tommy, would live on to fight another day. And Daniel actually says in my interview, he says, this is his quote. He says, I likened it to the scene in Escape from New York when Adrienne Barbeau was standing on that bridge with the gun and keeps firing. And ultimately, she gets run over by the car, but it gives them just enough time to get to that wall. To me, this was our version of that. I mean, I love Escape from New York. Okay. You can't see, but the poster's up here. I mean, I love that scene. That's the way Jamie should have gone out. Come on. I mean, that's fucking awesome. And it would have been beautiful to see. And he goes on, his quote, he says, even though Jamie was mortally wounded and you knew she wasn't going to make it, this little girl that had been through so much was going to stand up and battle it out with whatever she had left in her. And that was the end. To me, that was the most fitting, best way to say goodbye and to move on. And to this day, I can't believe they didn't do it. That's Daniel's words to me 6 years ago. And I still can't believe that they didn't do it. Once he told me how that's how he had originally wanted to write her out. And I did ask JC Brandy when I interviewed her as well if she ever saw that version of a script. And she did not see that particular, and she had heard about it. Daniel had told her, over time about that, but she never did see. So it didn't make it that far to where she was involved. But that just sounds like such a better ending. If you brought back Jamie Lloyd, how would you do it? Byron asks. How would you kill her off? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, it's bring her back now. I did hear that there was early versions of the Halloween 2018 script. The character of Karen was originally or at least at one point, was, from what I heard, titled, her name was going to be Jamie, which I'm glad they changed, honestly, because I think that would have just driven fans crazy even more, or confused people even more, or I kind of think it's better that they didn't do that, because that would have just confused things even more, if you ask me. But I do remember hearing about that. Mitchell says the original Halloween Curse TV trailer was Halloween 666, The Curse of Michael Myers. Yes, and originally, even before that, it was going to be Halloween 666, The Origin of Michael Myers, was an even more previous title. But yeah, they toned that part of it down. And of course, when they did the reshoots for the theatrical cut, they amped up some of the gore factor. That's where that other Jamie, the theatrical Jamie, the gory kill, comes from. And of course, that's A. Michael Lerner that they brought in for those reshoots. George Wilbur was in most of the rest of the movie. And A. Michael Lerner is somebody I also interviewed, and I've put the link down below this video, in celebration of Halloween 6. But yeah, so Daniel, we talked about all kinds of cool things when it comes to Curse. And to me, you can't get to much more of an authority than the writer of the film. I mean, I guess Carpenter's authority would supersede anybody if he just said no. But it's the writer of the film, and so that's a pretty good authority there. And one of the things that I always loved about the film was the character of Mrs. Blankenship. If you remember, the old lady, and she has another one of my favorite scenes in the film when she tells Danny, the little boy, the story of Halloween. And they use that in the trailer, and it's awesome. And the performance is awesome. And I just always loved the name Mrs. Blankenship, because to me, I immediately thought, well, that could be Minnie Blankenship from Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. If you remember, that name is mentioned in Season of the Witch. That's Stacey Nelkin's character, her dad that they're looking for in Season of the Witch. He had a meeting with Minnie Blankenship, and that's the last thing on his calendar, his planner, And so I asked Daniel about that specifically because I always wondered and kind of thought that, yeah, that clearly that can't be an accident. And he absolutely confirmed that, yes, absolutely. In his mind, Mrs. Blankenship is the same Minnie Blankenship mentioned in Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Um, Further down in our interview, we discuss what would have happened in his original ending, what would have happened in his planned sequel. Of course, after Curse, they go to H2O and they do away with the 4 through 6 storyline. Well, Daniel had ideas for what Halloween 7 could have looked like, and they're pretty interesting. And so I'm not going to go over all of that here tonight, but I did just want to hit on a little bit of that, and especially some of the cool things about the film. Um, Another thing I love was the whole carnival scene. It's raining red. It's raining red. I loved the Howard Stern type DJ guy that comes to Haddonfield, and I love that. They're talking about Haddonfield. Some people want to ban Halloween in Haddonfield. Others want to bring it back, and the bringing it back kind of maybe has a little something to do with Michael coming back too. Is it coincidence? Or is it all just part of the evil of Halloween? I don't know. But I think, that was part of what Daniel was doing, was trying to merge all of that. And one of the small parts of continuing into the next film that he wanted to do originally was kind of expose that more of Haddonfield was in on this cult that the Man in Black is involved in, that has Jamie in the beginning of the film. And it would have been almost like a Silver Shamrock type conspiracy where, Silver Shamrock has their whole town and everybody's kind of, even the people that aren't robots are kind of in on it. And so he had some big plans and ideas. And again, I'm not going to go over word for word all of that, but after that interview, I certainly, look at the film a little bit differently. I mean, I always liked it, but this was on the occasion of the producer's cut being released. And, as far as which one you guys prefer, I'd love to hear what you think, which one you prefer and why. I don't know which one I prefer. Probably the producer's cut at the end of the day, because I feel like it's a little more succinct. It just makes a little more sense. It does kind of pay off the Man in Black thing, for better or for worse. I mean, they did start that in H5. They didn't have a plan of where it was going to go. And Daniels handed that. So what are you going to do? I think leaving it vague in the theatrical cut just does the same thing H5 did, just leave it vague, questions with no answers. But the producer's cut at least does put an answer there. And maybe you don't like that answer. Maybe it's not the best answer. But I kind of enjoy the Man in Black being revealed to be, spoiler alert, Dr. Wynn from the sanitarium. So Mitchell says, wow, I had no idea H3 Mini. Right, yeah. Again, a lot of people don't know that, and that's why, tomorrow I'm going to reshare that interview on the Twitter and the fake book and everything. But yeah, that was one of my favorite things I learned in that interview, because I always thought that in my head, at least after seeing those films, and then to get to ask Daniel and to have him confirm that, yeah, that was totally his intention. Sonic says Michael Myers is everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Yep, that's true. Yeah, he is a force. We've talked about that before. He is the shape. He is a thing. So again, I mean, I could go on and on. Daniel gave me all kinds of just amazing insight into where he was coming from with the story. Even what I would argue is pretty much the most controversial thing of it story-wise for me, which is the whole idea that Michael impregnated Jamie, his niece. This is not stalker style here. This is something totally new and different. And he touches on that in my interview with him. And more or less he describes it as it was never meant to be as in your face as it comes off. In certainly in the producer's cut, where leaves little to nothing to the imagination, and it was meant to be more of a we the viewer are wondering, did that really happen? Was Jamie seeing a hallucination? Was it the drugs they had her on? Or did that really happen? Or and she would be not sure, and we the viewer would be not sure. And he likened it to Rosemary's Baby in that respect. And he says that was kind of part of what got Mustafa Akkad to agree to bring the Jamie Lloyd character back into this film, because again, when he first got attached, they didn't want to have anything to do with her, and it was Daniel that said, well, you don't understand. We have to have her in this story. She was such a big part of the last two to not have her, and he was right about that. But part of the stipulation was they had to kill her off, and then that goes back to what I was talking about earlier with his original ending for her, which would have been, I think we could all agree, so much better than either the theatrical or the producer's cut ending that we got for her. Let's see. So I also interviewed, like I said, J.C. Brandy, who played Jamie Lloyd. And this was 2 years ago when we went to South Pasadena for the H4O Halloween convention. This was right before, just days before Halloween 2018 hit theaters. And we met J.C. Brandy. She was super nice, super cool. And we talked had a fun, relaxed conversation. We talked about Halloween, the holiday. We talked about celebrating it as a kid, and her celebrating it as a parent with her kids. And of course, we talked about Halloween 6. And just going back to that controversy of the cult and Michael impregnating her character, I asked her, what her biggest memory from filming the film was. And she says, and this is her quote, the cult scene, because I was tied up on the table and I was aware that it was possibly going a bit too far with this scenario. And she laughs and so again, she was well aware at the time of filming. And Daniel actually shared a behind the scenes photo that I had never seen pretty recently, and it is of that table of J.C. Brandy tied up from that scene, from that cult scene that's from the opening of the film, which you see more of in the producer's cut than you do in the theatrical. And the producer's cut definitely lets you know what's going on a lot more, as disturbing as it is. But I guess they are a cult. They are a cult too. So a little bit of uncle niece incest for a cult. I don't know. I guess that's kind of par for the course. But yeah, she knew at the time that was pushing it a little too far with that scenario, and of course being uncomfortable and tied down on the table probably was not too much fun either. She talked to me about how cold it was filming those scenes in like the farm, and if you remember, there was the rain coming down, and she's basically not wearing much, just like the hospital nightgown, and yeah, she talks about having hypothermia while they were shooting the escape scene. So again, I've linked this interview also down below. This was from 2 years ago. This is with J.C. Brandy. And she also talks about a little bit about the reshoots that I mentioned, which led to the theatrical cut being a cut different than the producer's cut, which did not have the reshoots in it. And she basically confirmed what other people have said, what Daniel had told me, and other people have confirmed, that nobody was really happy with going back for these reshoots. They felt that story-wise, it wasn't really doing the film any favors, and they just thought that they had made the movie they had made and were done, I think. And so getting pulled back was a little uncomfortable. And I know Daniel also commented about Paul Rudd, and a lot of people feel that Paul Rudd hates that movie. And Daniel told me that when he talked to him, that didn't seem the case, and he's still friends with him. But I think everybody was, including Paul, was upset with having to do the reshoots, and as a result, upset with the theatrical cut that was then released to the world. And then, of course, over the years, the producer's cut becomes this mythical thing. Then it's on bootlegs everywhere for years. Everybody sees these horrible copies of it. I've got a bootleg DVD of it I got from a convention many years ago. And then finally, that Halloween complete collection Blu-ray set comes out. And at the time when that was first announced, I said that the producer's cut is kind of the crown jewel of that whole collection, because it had never officially been released before then, and on Blu-ray no less. So I was stoked for that. So yeah, so check out those two interviews about Halloween 6. And while we're on the Halloween 6 kick, be sure to check out my interview, also from the H4O convention, with A. Michael Lerner. And he talks about coming in for the reshoots. And because George Wilbur, of course, played Michael in the first parts of the film that were filmed, and then they brought in A. Michael Lerner to step in. And he talked about how cool it is to be Michael Myers out in the world. And I've been lucky enough to interview quite a few of the guys. I'd say almost all of the guys that have played Michael over the years. And they've all told similar stories about this, but I'll just read this little quote from A. Michael Lerner that I thought was pretty cool. Because we're at the H4O convention, we're talking during this interview, and so I asked him, how cool is it, to be here as a rock star, as one of the Michaels, because this was literally the largest gathering of performers that had portrayed Michael ever assembled in one building. And there was more than ever, of course, because there's more every year. Every film. So he says, it's pretty cool. The reality of it doesn't always hit me. Like I said, it was just work for me. He says, one of the funny things for me is I'll go to a bar or a restaurant and I'll be sitting next to somebody and they'll have a big Michael Myers tattoo on their arm. Little do they know. So, out of fun, they don't know who I am. I'll start talking about the movies and which is their favorite one. But I never really let them know I'm Michael Myers. It's like an inside thing for me. It's kind of fun. A lot of people, if I tell them, they're not going to believe me. Then I have to go through the whole IMDb and pull up pictures and all that. And I'm not really there to, you know what I'm saying? Something like this is different. This meaning the convention. So, again, all types have played Michael Myers, and Michael Lerner was one of the best and definitely brought a different vibe. I mean, you can tell the Wilbur build as opposed to Michael Lerner's more lean, more traditional Michael look in those reshot scenes. And that interview is already linked down below as well. And while you're at it, we also shared our Alan Howarth interview. This one goes way back to 2015. We met him at Flashback Weekend that year in Chicago, and he talked about basically how the Halloween 4, 5, and 6 trilogy, the Thorn trilogy, or the Jamie Lloyd trilogy, how that was kind of his version of Alan Howarth doing John Carpenter. And also, if you haven't checked out Alan's website, go check him out. He's got both versions of he's got the producer's cut soundtrack as well as the theatrical cut soundtrack. And they're vastly different, honestly. Just like the movies are vastly different. The Alan soundtracks for both are totally different. They're both distinctly Alan Howarth doing John Carpenter, but they're both very different. One's got, like the heavy metal guitar Halloween themes, and one's much more like the traditional Halloween themes. And that was one other thing that I loved about Curse. Just to wrap up the Curse discussion is, you know, the atmosphere, the overall Halloween atmosphere. I talked about the carnival and the raining blood and all that great jack o' lantern and just all the fall leaves and everything. You know, H4's got that great opening sequence and but we love that strong fall atmosphere. And I love the scene. Probably I think it's probably my favorite scene of the whole film when Mrs. Blankenship tells the story of Halloween. And she's talking, and you see Paul Rudd, Tommy Doyle is walking in slow motion, and they've got the signs, the he's coming signs and everything. I mean, it's so much fun. And yeah, does the story take like kind of a weird turn to say the least? Of course it does. Yeah, it's weird. But as I talked about with the Rob Zombie ones, if you're going to be different, you might as well lean into it, embrace it, and go full on and be different and just own it. And that's what Daniel did with his script, and that's what I think he tried to do with that film. And I think that's what Mustafa at that point was willing to do. And and yeah, I still can't help but think about that Jamie Lloyd going out Adrienne Barbeau style against Michael, to protect Steven, her son, and to protect Tommy, just like Laurie would have done. So I that's the real ending to the film that we never got to see. But how cool would it be if that had been the case? Again, you can learn all about everything that I've talked about here in all these interviews and so much more, especially with Daniel Farron's interview. That's going to be the top link because, again, we went really in depth, and he's a huge fan of horror and of this franchise, and he was before he became part of it. So that's another great thing. He's one of us, and it's evident when I talk to him. And we're we still keep in touch just a little bit through social media, but it's just evident through the projects that he works on to this day. And that was a lot of fun. And of course, A. Michael Lerner, Alan Howarth, J.C. Brandy, they were all totally awesome. I'll be resharing their interviews tomorrow on the actual 25th anniversary, but I just wanted to just highlight them just a little bit and give them all a nice shout out because they were kind enough to spend a few minutes talking to me when they didn't have to. And that's always exciting. And I get to geek out a little bit every time. So that's what I got, guys. Let's see. Byron says, I'd love to see Danielle Harris and James McAvoy team up to stop Michael Myers if Jamie Lloyd ever came back to the franchise. Huh. So James McAvoy would play just a new character, or would you like to see Hans Zimmer do a score for a Halloween film? Hey, I mean, he's an amazing composer. I would love to hear what that would sound like. I mean, I think right now in the current where you've got Carpenter doing the score. I mean, I think you can't really be more fitting for Halloween than Carpenter himself doing it. But yeah, if Carpenter's not doing it and down the road a new director comes with a new vision, which we know will happen eventually, sure, absolutely. I would love to hear a Hans Zimmer Halloween score doing it his way. But doing Carpenter his way, the way Howarth, those three movies, he worked, collaborated with Carpenter on part 2 and more on part 3, but it was really part 4 and 5 where it was all him and still in the shadow and still, but kind of making those themes his own and bringing a little bit more of himself to it.
James McAvoy would be the grandson of Loomis. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that sounds like a winner there. He's an awesome actor. He would be great. I thought he was really good in the new It movie. Uh, yeah, obviously Split. I mean, yeah, he's really good. So I could see that. I think he would be a good grandson of Loomis. Bring Jamie Lloyd back. Byron. I would not be opposed to that. I've talked about it on here before that this franchise more than anyone I can think of, there really are no rules for them because they break the rules and make their own rules in the process. And it seems, by the way, it seems like everybody kind of follows what they're doing. If the new Scream is truly going to be just called Scream again, which I saw some outlets reporting that. I'm not 100% convinced that that's what they're going to call it, but maybe, uh, but that's a direct result of Halloween. But then again, that's a direct Scream thing too, to also be like Halloween, because those franchises are connected. But that's a whole nother conversation I could get into when we get closer to a new Scream movie, a long ways away now. But it's but I love those films too, and we could talk again for an hour just about all of the Scream and Halloween crossover potential. But I don't know how I got over on Scream with that. But bring back Alan Howarth. Yes. Now, again, if you can't have Carpenter, I'd say have Alan Howarth. Or Trent Reznor, Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. They did the Watchmen score, and he's doing a lot of film and TV scores now. And they did release their version of the classic Halloween theme. They released it, I believe, in 2017. I remember it was October 13th, Friday the 13th, and it was just a surprise release, and it was their version of Carpenter's Halloween theme, and it was awesome. And it was released October 13th, Friday the 13th. So that's who I would probably vote for, if not Carpenter, if not Howarth. I would not have a problem if they got Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross to score a future Halloween film. Let's see. Byron says I would have Alan Howarth and Disasterpiece team up to do a Halloween score that would be creepy and great to hear. Yes. I'm not that familiar with Disasterpiece, but I will check them out. Yeah. I love the name though. That sounds awesome. Yeah, I could totally see bringing Howarth back. When I interviewed him going back to 2015, this was way back. Some of you guys might remember Halloween Returns was in development at this time. They had not canceled Halloween Returns. If you guys remember, this film was going to be directed by Marcus Dunstan, written by Patrick Melton, and it was called Halloween Returns, and it was in development for quite a while. And at the time, they were getting pretty far along in the development phase. They hadn't announced casting yet, but it was pretty serious. And this was the summer of 2015, and we're out at Flashback Weekend, a convention in Chicago. And we're there primarily because they had a whole lot of Halloween franchise people. It was kind of like a 25 Years of Terror type convention, but not that. It was at Flashback, but it was a very strong Halloween franchise theme. I know Scout was there, Danielle was there, Christina Klebe was there, Nick Castle, Tommy Lee Wallace, Dean Cundy, Charles Cyphers, Stacey Nelkin, Tom Atkins. Oh, the list goes on and on. There were so many of them there, and it was awesome. And we were only there for 2 days of the 3-day thing, which was made it even more whirlwind for us. But we're there, and as soon as we get there, all of a sudden, Alan Howarth comes up and introduces himself to us and says, "Hey, I'd love to talk to you about, how I'd love to come do the score for Halloween Returns. They want somebody that sounds like me and Carpenter. They can get me. So if you can't have, and." So I was like, well, yes, we'll be right over there to talk to you very soon. And we did, and yeah, he was very kind with his time and gracious to give me that interview. But yeah, he actually approached us and was very excited to talk. And the gist of that is he was ready to do the score. That interview got retweeted around, and I forget. I think it was Patrick Melton uh, responded to it and was stoked. I think he and both Marcus had seen the interview, seen the quotes, and so I have high hopes that that would have happened had things not changed. But of course, it was not destined to be. This was way back 5 years ago when plans were different, and again, that could be a whole Monday night uh, special some week. All the Halloween projects that were canceled and never were. And I guess that also ties in with Daniel Farron's H7 that never was. But let's see. Byron says, I got an idea for a Michael Myers versus Jamie Lloyd fight. Have those fight in the original Myers house in Judith's bedroom. Have Danielle stab Michael in the jugular with his knife. That would be pretty epic. That would be pretty epic. Yeah. And doing it at the Myers house would be fitting, and Judith's bedroom would be perfect. That would be pretty awesome. Yeah, I would love to see that. Yeah, maybe, and again, with this franchise, I've said it before during these Michael Myers Monday live shows, and I'm going to keep saying it because it's I would not put anything past them. We know we Halloween Kills is in the can. We know we got Halloween Ends coming, and we know after that there's going to be a few years of silence, you know, and we'll celebrate the 45th anniversary of the franchise, and we'll probably get a new box set at some point during that period, and then at some point, 5 or 10 years down the road, we'll have a whole nother vision of this franchise come forth, and it'll be what it is, and at that point, who knows? They could do a Jamie Lloyd where it skips Curse, even. You know, I've just spent an hour professing my love for Curse. But I love all the movies. But they could do that. An alternate storyline, picking up from 5, where Jamie Lloyd didn't die. Just ignore Curse. This franchise could do that. If any franchise ever in history could do that, it's the Halloween franchise. Only because they've done it more than once already. It's just ignoring their own continuity, just saying, yeah, that stuff that's canon, no longer canon. Starting here. But again, like I talked about my first night here, like I've mentioned before, it's choose your own adventure. And it's become kind of one of my favorite things about this franchise, honestly, is, when you've already got no continuity and a completely mismatched, contradicting canon, timelines, multiple timelines, just own it. And heck, make more timelines. Why not? Why not? Whatever keeps more Michael Myers movies coming, I'm all for it. And as we've talked about before, I could even take an anthology here and there. I could even take a Smith's Grove Young Loomis series, Netflix series, or HBO Max or something. Something where they can be rated R for sure. I could see that. Where Michael's not even really in it, or if he is in it, he's only in a few episodes and only mentioned, rarely ever seen at all, except for maybe the season finale or something like that. Of course, he'd be in room 31 or 1031, I guess. So anyway, guys, I've been going for well over an hour now. I didn't plan to talk this long, but again, you get me going on the stuff I love. It's hard to stop sometimes. But thank you guys for watching tonight. Thank you guys for watching. Let's see. Byron asked, do you think we'll get a Halloween movie in 2026 or 2027? Well, in all seriousness, 2026, let's see. 2021, 2022. Yeah. Yeah, realistically, 26 or 27, I think realistically would be the earliest we would get one. Yep. In all seriousness. Yeah, because we've got Kills coming out next year. And then we'll have ends coming out in 2022, if all things work out as planned. And then, yeah, 2023, that's going to be the 45th anniversary of the original Halloween. So hopefully there'll be a 45 years of terror event that we can all gather at and celebrate. Then, so 2024, 2025, 2020, 3 years after that would be 2026. So yeah, 3 to 4 years after that 45 years of terror mark, I can totally see that'd be where the earliest we might get the next incarnation of Michael Myers in this franchise. And I totally expect it to be from another super talented writing, directing team with their own vision. I expect it to be totally different. I expect it to piss off half the fans. Like, we know it's gonna, but, I'm going to be there with my ticket on opening day, on premiere night. Absolutely. And I'll be first in line for sure. So yeah, in all seriousness, Byron, yeah, I think 2026 or 2027 would be the earliest after Halloween ends. Because of course it's never truly going to end. All right, Phil says, have a good week, Matt. All right, guys. Once again, thank you all for tuning in, for watching. If it's your first time here, thank you, and plan to come back next Monday. We do this every week. If you're returning, like Mitchell, thank you guys for coming back. I think this is our 8th week, maybe, doing this in a row. I don't know if we can keep it going every single week, but we're gonna do it through Halloween, and we're gonna see what happens after that. So come back next Monday. We'll talk more. I don't know what the subject will be quite yet, but I'm sure we'll have some news to talk about. And there's always more Myers news to talk about this time of year. And it's going to be our first Monday of October. Next time I see you guys, we're going to be in October. So that's exciting in itself. That Fear Fest will be going on. Myers will be playing on AMC constantly already by the next time we see each other. So how awesome is that going to be? All right, guys. Yes, check out It Follows the Script. Yes, I'll check that out. Take care, Byron. Phil, yes. All of you guys, thank you again for tuning in. Happy Michael Myers Monday. And check the links below here. As always, you can find out more about everything I talked about and find these masks while supplies last at HalloweenDailyNews.com. I'm Matt Arts for Halloween Daily News. Thank you for watching.